Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's November 5th, 2025. We are in the New Testament book of John. We're going to read chapter 2 today. All right, so John's going to give us the first miracle he recounts in his gospel, which is turning water into wine at a wedding. See, Mark and Luke, we both saw it was healing or driving a demonic spirit out of a man was the first miracle that they gave us. In Matthew, it's healing Peter's mother-in-law. That becomes the first one. So why are they different? Well, again, all of our authors of the Gospels are different human beings. They've got different perspectives. There are different things that they want us to see about Jesus. There are different things that they saw about Jesus. So John, maybe as Jesus' best friend, was a little bit closer to this miracle and understood and saw exactly what happened so that he can say, oh no, this is the first time he did something beyond what a human being can do. Whereas Luke, which is based on consensus, and Mark, which is based on Peter, and Matthew, which was based on his own testimony, maybe they didn't recognize this, or they weren't around and they didn't quite see this, or it doesn't actually fit the narrative they're trying to give us of Jesus. John is trying to show us that human and divine side of Jesus both, and this is a pretty good example of that he's at this wedding. Seems like his mother Mary is doing something in here. We see that he brings his family, and it talks about his mother and his brothers and his sisters, but not Joseph. So we don't know what happens to Joseph. The Bible's not about Joseph, it's about Jesus. But apparently he's not in this picture, so maybe she's supplementing her income by doing some kind of wedding planning, and that's why she got involved when they found out there was no wine, and that's why she involves Jesus when there's no wine. But Jesus saves the day, and he gives us, turns water into wine, his first miracle in this account. And there's nothing associated with it either, just he did something miraculous, kind of on the down low. And that kind of gives us that idea of Jesus not quite wanting everyone to know what he's doing yet. A slow build to the being declared the Messiah. Then he cleanses the temple. Now, the other gospel accounts put that at the very end of his ministry. John puts it at the beginning of his ministry and puts it at the end of his ministry. So which is it? Well, again, it's all perspective. John tells us he goes to Jerusalem 3 times in the 3 years that he's ministering. He would have gone there for every Passover, so John is probably giving us a little better account of what he's doing there. But the other gospel accounts probably wanted to save that to show his last week and how that went. I hope that makes sense to you as we're putting this through. Even though they're disagreeing with placement of things, they're still saying, hey, no, this is what Jesus did. And here's why he did it, and here's what the people responded to it, and the people that he was with saw and thought about it, and here's what Jesus taught about it. And that's where this is going to end, with Jesus giving a little blurb John gives us on Jesus, that he knows everybody, and he knows what's in their hearts. Let's go ahead. We're going to read chapter 2 of John. On the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Now, both Jesus and his disciples were invited to the wedding. And when they ran out of wine, the mother of Jesus said to him, they have no wine. Jesus said to her, woman, what does your concern have to do with me? My hour has not yet come. His mother said to the servants, whatever he says to you, do it. Now there were set there 6 water pots of stone, according to the manner of purification of the Jews, containing 20 or 30 gallons apiece. Jesus said to them, fill the water pots with water, and they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, draw some out now, and take it to the master of the feast. And they took it. When the master of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and did not know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom, and he said to him, every man at the beginning sets out the good wine, and when the guests have well drunk, then the inferior. You have kept the good wine until now. This beginning of signs Jesus did in Cana of Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this he went down to Capernaum, he, his mother, his brothers, and his disciples, and they did not stay there many days. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. And he found in the temple those who sold oxen and sheep and doves and the money changers doing business. When he had made a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money and overturned the tables. And he said to those who sold doves, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of merchandise." Then his disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house has eaten me up." So the Jews answered and said to him, "What sign do you show to us, since you do these things?" Jesus answered and said to them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will rise it up." Then the Jews said, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and will you rise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking of the temple of his body. Therefore, when he had risen from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this to them, and they believed the scripture and the word which Jesus had said. Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover during the feast, many believed in his name when they saw the signs which he did. But Jesus did not commit himself to them, because he knew all men, and had no need that anyone should testify of man, for he knew what was in man. May God bless the reading of his word. May God bless you. Bye.